Go ahead and get this started. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Tim and Tamara. Good to see you guys.
Good afternoon.
How's your sunny day this day?
It's a beautiful day.
Amen. It's beautiful. Well, guys, you guys, everybody that's out there today, and they're going to be, oops, I got to turn off Facebook over here. We're going to have people popping in at some point as we get going, and the numbers will sometimes reflect that, sometimes not. But guys, we're just so excited to have you here with me today because you have an amazing story. You have a great, amazing story to share, and you guys are an amazing couple. And so I just honor you. I honor you for being with us today. I honor you for the progress that you have made. And it's just an inspiration to me, to my wife. And I'm so excited for everybody out there that's going to hear this, that it's going to be an inspiration for them as well. Does that sound good, guys?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, I just want to point out that we're not dealing with any couple here. This is Tim and Tamara, and they are rock stars. And guys, you showed up every step of the way with working with me, coachable, committed, and resourceful, which is all I asked. And every step of the way, that's what you guys did. That's how you showed up. So let me ask you, the first question is, where were you guys when you found us? Like, I mean, just in terms of your marriage, your finances, relationally, your mental health, whatever you want to go into. Where were you guys when we first started out together?
We were pretty determined that we had tried everything that we knew to try. We didn't, we had a pretty hopeless feeling that we just couldn't communicate any good way, and every conversation turned into an argument, or and we just felt like we were just hurting each other, and there was no answer besides complete separation, divorce. And we had fought that for a long time and trying to, just work through one crisis after the next. But then we realized, it just wasn't getting any better. It was just another problem, and we weren't really figuring out how to connect and how to solve those problems.
Yeah. And I remember us talking that day. Tim, what is your perspective on where you guys were?
I think we had experienced the cycle where it never, we'd have a couple of good days, and then something would spark the tension or disagreement, and we'd fall right back into the, cycle again. And it was just, there was no resolution. It was always, I think we both always walked away from whatever going, well, we put a Band-Aid on it for, a little while. We put a happy face on for whatever reason, company, go to church, whatever. But deep down inside, we were like, it's not what it's supposed to be. And I think we were both discouraged. And like Tamara said, we had tried a lot of other things that were temporary fixes. But to be quite honest, most of the other things that we had tried, whether it was a counselor or whether it was literature, was sort of generic and really didn't hit our needs. It was more sort of like a car maintenance manual, do this at 30,000 miles, but it wasn't, it didn't pull out the real issues and the way to actually resolve them and give you a way to think about improving yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And wouldn't you say that there were times as well that even in some of those cycles that you talked about, that sometimes it really got to the point of things being really tense at home too? Is that a fair assessment to say between the two of you? Okay.
Yeah, they could. I mean, as far as the arguments and as far as the cycle, it evolved into just getting downright ugly. And hateful and just, like I said, to the point of just dark almost. I mean, it was very ugly.
Yeah. And would you care to share any about where some of the stress and the, that when things are not right at home, right, it can impact every area of our lives. And I wonder, as you look back, are there different things that stand out to you that you just think, boy, wow, that was really not only tough, but I was feeling it in my body. It was making me sick, things of that nature. How else did it show up for you guys?
Well, we have a lot of stressors that we have to, deal with. Everybody has a little bit of that, but it seems like we have we seem like we had it coming from every direction.
Yeah.
And so, you get a lot of anxiety from that. You do everything that you know to do to take care of yourself, but you still have so much tension, anxiety, and then despair, feeling like you're all alone in this world, and that even the person that's supposed to be closest to you doesn't even understand what you're going through, or knows how to help you, or wants to even help you.
Right.
So that took us through, like Timmy said, a really dark road of just kind of like depression and anxiety and just hopeless in the relationship.
Yeah, that's I remember. It seems like just yesterday, but yet it's so long ago, in some ways. And I wonder, guys, as you think about that, it sounds like your dog's having some anxiety. Is that a dog I hear in the back? Hey, better the dog than us, right? So, I guess I would ask, do you think of like, what was the point that it was kind of like, wow, this will make or break us? Like, what was that breaking point for you guys where you said, we need help now? Is there a moment or maybe a season of a few days that really stand out to you guys at that point?
Well, the tension was building. The arguments were just, it didn't matter what the subject was. It turned out into an argument of something we couldn't even explain how we got there. And more, I guess, just more and more anger and hurt that we just realized, you know what, we are not doing ourselves any good in this relationship. So we don't know how to fix this. So, maybe we just be better off without each other. Maybe we just be better off figuring out our lives for ourselves. And then, but I guess we kind of did have some kind of deep down hope individually within us. And we just, we got to that moment of saying, okay, it's not a threat, it's a reality. Like we've just got to get a lawyer, and we've just got to figure out how to get out of this.
Wow. Tim, do you remember that too? Were you in the same place?
Yeah, I mean, it got to, there was always, like I said, the cycles went on, and it, each time it seemed to get a little worse, or some days seemed a little better, but it just got to a point where I think, to be quite honest, I think we were both just burnt out from arguing, burnt out from no resolution, burnt out from not being happy, burnt out from just, there's got to be more to life than this. I mean, this is, this is getting old, and it was, walking on eggshells where, you're scared or reluctant to say what you're thinking or what you're feeling because of the reaction you may get. And then I think, through when we went through the program with you, again, the difference in that and maybe other things we had done was when you started looking at yourself, when you started not saying so much the other person's to blame. Maybe I'm not looking at this right. Maybe I'm not forgiving. Maybe I'm not accepting. I guess the old saying, it's okay to disagree. That's one of those things that's easy to say, but it's maybe a little harder to do. But you have to decide what's important and what carries the most weight in your marriage. And it's never going to be 100% just easy cheesy, greatest thing in the world, TV or movie, marriage, romance. There's going to be obstacles to deal with on a daily basis, and how you decide to deal with them is going to determine where it goes.
Yeah. And that's a valid point. It's pretty easy to see the problems in the other person, but it's a whole lot harder to turn it around and say, well, what about me? Where have I been contributing negatively to the marriage, too? And so that can be a little bit of a painful process, but if you're both doing it at the same time, that can be very, very powerful too. So, why was it, as you guys look back, why was it so important? Like, divorce, as you said, was on the table. Why was it important, though, for you guys to do what you could do to try to fix it?
Well, I think that both of us I can speak for myself, I'll say, we both had a hope, but I think that I just always felt like that there would be, that we really did care about each other. We really had something there. We just were hitting a wall.
Yeah.
We couldn't resolve anything. And then we kept bringing up, we found ourselves in a cycle of bringing up every hurt, every negative, everything that had gone wrong between us or where we didn't see eye to eye. Every argument had to bring up all the past instead of taking that issue and laying it to rest, resolving it. And like he said, just agreeing to disagree, or, hey, we're just going to have to come back to this at a different time. Yeah. We didn't have those tools. We just wanted to drive it home until it was just like, you're going to see my point. And, so then whenever, so when we saw your program and we saw, in 8 weeks, there was hope for a difference. We thought,
too good to be true.
But, we've been through that road 100 times, but it was kind of a time frame and kind of like I guess a deadline of saying, okay, we'll give it 8 weeks. If 8 weeks doesn't make a difference and we give it all I can, and he decides to give it all he can, then, we'll reevaluate and we'll see where we are then.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of like a strategy that we used to just not give up.
Yeah.
Completely. And, cause, I don't think that divorce is a resolve. I think that you still have to deal with each other in a different way from everything I've seen of other people. So I didn't feel like that was really going to be a final fix. It was just going to be another road to take, so we would be away from each other and not having to do life decisions together, but we still have a family. And even though they're grown, they still are concerned for each one of us. So,
Yeah. And you wanted to leave a better path for them. That's something I know we talked about too. And and I hope they get to listen to this because they can hear some of the story and some of the behind the scenes, so to speak. I think God will be very, very honored in that and will honor you as a result. And certainly for our folks that are listening today, I know God will be honored as a result. But Tim, let me ask you, would you say that it's fair to say that on the front end, and I want Tamara to answer too, but that you were a little bit on the skeptical side that this could actually make a difference?
Definitely. I thought, here we go again. Do this, and then, I was like, here, you're gonna read something, and somebody's gonna tell you their point of view, and you're gonna hear the sort of the same thing, but it really wasn't that. As it started to move on, and you and Rachel's concerns and feedback back and forth were encouraging and were real, and you being open about some of the things you had dealt with made you more real and made it more like, well, this guy can relate to what I'm saying, and he's not, he's not doing this just to make a dollar. He's actually been down this road, and he's openly admitting that his marriage wasn't perfect, and that he's saying, I can walk with you and show you what improved our relationship. And but yeah, I mean, in the beginning I was sort of like, nah, I mean, we've done it, been there, we're gonna spend some more money, and then it's gonna be a band-aid, and then later on we're gonna be back to square one. But it's actually a different lifestyle, it's actually a different way to live, it's actually a different way to look at things. And throughout the process of the modules and everything, like I've told you before, the one where it was you and me against the world, what hit home with me was, wait a minute, I mean, this started out as two people that fell in love, and everything else came after the fact: the children, the finances, the jobs, the family issues, taking care of parents, whatever. And we forgot the basics.
Yeah. The cart started getting before the horse, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that doesn't work too good.
No.
That I love what you said there, Tim. That was so profound. And Tamara, I'd love for you to answer that question, because even on the front end, even as we were getting started, there was still some skepticism too from both of you. But I wondered if you would share that from your perspective.
I can remember having a conversation with you a couple of weeks in or something, and we had I had a some kind of a conflict of some sort, and I said, it's just the same old thing. It's the same pattern. And our conversation led me to think otherwise, because you kept saying, what else could be true? Forget the old pattern and let's just talk about the here and now.
Right.
And let's talk about what we can do to think differently about how to fix this now. And those little conversations along the way made a huge difference in, okay, so we're experiencing another setback or, a real live issue. And so what's going to be different now, and you helped even talk us through in those times. And so we had the tools, but putting the tools to use is sometimes a whole different thing when you're in the middle of the life that, you know, whatever the fallout is.
Right.
You know, that, you know, I was, you know, if that had not been the case, if I had not been able to have those conversations with you on a regular basis, our, you know, team, both of us having those conversations, then I really feel like it would have fallen back completely back into, you know, forgetting, like, you know, how to resolve the conflict, because like I said, y'all gave us a lot of tools to use, and we had not had that before. What we had before was just, you know, pouring ourselves out saying, you know, he did this and he said that, he don't understand, and him saying his part about it, and then a few minutes of, okay, well, here's an idea. And so that worked a little bit, but then you get 3 days away into reality, and, you know, you feel like, well, that is not working. That's not working, you know, or they don't understand. So that's how we kind of felt in the very beginning. Like, you know, is it really different? Is it really going to make any difference? Is it really going to, you know, is it really going to work by the end of this time period? And yes, it did.
Yeah. Wow. Praise God. Well, I'm so glad that you felt supported. That's really a lot of what we try to do, is powerfully support our clients. Now I want to ask a strange question, and I primarily want to ask Tim this. It's right along with what you just said. When we first started getting going, what was the first thing that stands out in your mind that you were kind of like, whoa, this is really different? I've never had anyone ask me to do this. Was there any weird things in any of the modules or any of the training that we did that you were just kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, and maybe seemed a little odd at first? Is there anything that stood out like that to you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying when it got started, I guess, when you ask both of us to write the 10 reasons not to give up.
Yeah.
That
was our first phone call.
Yeah. And I mean, I was sort of like, well, I mean, I don't know if I got 10 reasons for you, but, you know, at that point, you know, and then when you started writing them, you started being more real, and it started coming to you. It started coming to your mind, you know, and worked on your heart that, you know, there are 10 plus reasons. There's 100 reasons. There's 1,000 reasons not to give up on this. And it took somebody such as yourself saying, you know, I mean, have you thought about it like this? But I mean, I guess to me, and they're still on, you know, they're still on my mirror and her mirror, and we see them every day. Yep. And that was probably the strangest thing that, you know, like I said, it was a task that you had to do that you were just sort of like, I don't know, but it was probably what ignited the fire. And even today, when we read them, it still ignites a fire. When you hear yourself say the 10 reasons and you hear your wife say the 10 reasons, then it's very reassuring of why you're here.
Absolutely. I love that. And we did that day 0. I mean, how amazing is that? That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's so amazing to hear you not only say that it seemed a little odd, but that you can also look back and say, wow, that was also really a key to helping us to get down this path to being restored. So that's an amazing thing for you to share. And so that's one of the things I asked you, would you be coachable, which means open to doing things different than you've done it before. And I just love the fact that you guys were like, okay, this is a little weird, but we're going to do it anyways. Right. And you guys both dove in with that. And Tamara, were you going to add to that, or do you agree?
I agree. I definitely agree. That was really a huge first step in, like you said, unlocking the key of like, okay, this is our thing to look back on. And many times throughout the 8 weeks, you said, go back and look at that. Make sure you're looking at that every day. And we would take the time to read it out loud. And it is a huge reassurance.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, guys, that's amazing, because that brings us to where we are today. And I'd love for you to share a little bit of an update, including the title that you shared, which is From Broken to Restored. You guys picked that. So why don't you fill me in on where you guys are at this point? What does broken to restored mean? And I'd love for both of you to share about that.
Well, I'll say, the first word I thought about was restored, because when we started this, we were pretty much a mess in as far as our relationship goes, and learning God's desire for marriage and relationship, and going through that a little bit more in depth than we ever have before, the details of what that means. And it really helped us to realize that our marriage could be so much more if we let God be in charge. And restored is a word that means giving it to God and let Him put it where He meant for it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's something that we have committed to now, is realizing that we want our marriage to be what God designed our marriage to be. And we want to support each other, and we want to continue to connect with each other through the rest of whatever comes our way. And be an example to our children, and that's our heritage. And we want them to, help understand that through conflict, that you depend on God, and God will intervene and fix things. And we were very broken. We were very hurt. Both of us felt very disrespected by one another. It was things that we had built up into ourselves. We felt a lot of like we were just sort of going through the motions of what we thought being together, marriage was, but it wasn't an intimate connection that we had. It was broken. It was not what it started out to be. And we lost so much of each other along the way, and we lost ourselves, and we lost the security of knowing that we were there for each other.
Yes.
We sort of felt like we were in this alone, and we were just sort of like, we had a joint checking account. We had, children, and we both loved them, and we didn't want to mess up, their lives, and we didn't want to break anybody else's heart, I guess. But we were just, like in a place of, and broken also. I mean, we had to even become more broken from our habits in that too.
Yeah. So business partners at home, and that's what I hear from a lot of folks I talk to.
Yeah, we learned how to enjoy life together again, no matter what the day holds.
Love that. Love that. Tim, how about for you?
I would say, going back to the broken part, we were today's marriage. We were what social media says, what everybody else is doing, divorcing, complaining about their spouse, discontent, going through the motions, going to work. We'll do what we got to do, but no really happiness and no fulfillment, especially with each other. We both work crazy schedules. We work 12 and 13-hour days. We work opposite shifts sometimes. And then the 2 or 3 hours we had together, for the most part, were okay. But, there was not, we definitely didn't make the most of it. And we had sort of, I don't know that we had accepted it, but we had got to that point that we both were sort of like, well, this is how it is. And, we've been married a long time, and this is just where you end up. And as far as restored, a little bit of history. I was going to the grocery store, and my wife was playing basketball at the front yard, and I blew the horn. Never seen her in my life, and she waved, and I went back and talked to her, and it never stopped from there. And when we were teenagers, basically, we were talking about sitting on the front porch. We were old together, and we're back to that place.
Praise God. Wow.
That's what I would tell anybody is, you want to fix it, you got to go back to the beginning of when you fell in love and remember why you fell in love.
Yeah.
And you got to remember it's you too. And everything and everybody comes second to that.
Yeah.
If you get that figured out, it'll work. But if you don't get that figured out and you constantly let your guard down and let people and things and circumstances interfere, you're going to fall on your face over and over and over again.
Wow, that's so powerful for you guys to share that. I love that. You got me teared up over here myself. So, and Rachel joined us.
I'm joining the party late, but I love hearing that, Tim. I love seeing the tender heart that God's given you and the love that has been re-sparked in the two of you. It just makes us so grateful.
Yes. Amen.
Well, y'all, what would y'all tell those couples who are maybe hesitant to book a call with Scott, maybe feeling hopeless, maybe feeling like divorce is their only option, or they've been through this before, counseling or whatever, and they're stuck? What would be your advice to them?
I would say, step out on faith and do it. And like I said before, without saying the same thing over and over, we've been through counseling, we've spent money, we've been to marriage conferences, and they're good, and I'm not knocking that or belittling that, but they were definitely never as personal as this program. And I don't ever remember anybody throughout the processes we've been through the years ever calling my hand on something and going, well, wait a minute. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but is what you're saying correct? Or is that the right way to think about it? And saying, I guess in the past, through the different things we've done, I was sort of kind of looking for a fix for Tamara to a certain extent. If she would change, this would be great.
It's so honest, man. It's so
And-
honest. She felt the same way, I'm
She
sure.
felt the same way, I'm sure.
But I mean, and that wasn't, but with that, I think that's pride in yourself and thinking, what the heck's wrong with everybody else? There's nothing wrong with me. I mean, you should be able to think like I do. I mean, that's, I'm perfect. I mean, what's your problem? And that's not the case. There was fault on both sides and positive on both sides. But I think you have to, I guess this program really brings out, it makes you look at yourself and it makes you look at what you're investing in this. And if you're, I would tell people, if you want a marriage that works, you've got to invest in it and you've got to spend time. It's got to be a priority. And that's where we had got to, where we had good intentions, but the marriage was always the last thing. It was the last thing we got to. We met whatever needs we had to meet with family, whatever needs we had to meet with work, whatever needs we had to meet with running to the grocery store, et cetera, et cetera. And I was always the last thing on her list. She was always the last thing on my list, not necessarily intentionally, but you just get in a rut. And I mean, you've got to get the tools to get back the character and the compassion that God equipped you with, and get it and scrape all the crud off and get back to that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Tamara, what would you say? Anything you'd add?
Wow, he said a lot.
He did.
Yeah. I think I think there's always hope because you got married for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to go back to that reason. And just like we said earlier, those 10 reasons really did spark an attitude of, I guess, kind of a happy spot to go back to say, we're mad about this. This don't look good. This don't feel good. But it's not the end all. It's not we don't want to destroy everything because we're mad about this little thing, or maybe it's a big thing. So that there's hope, and you just have to be able to sit down and look at each other in the eye. Mm-hmm. You have to take time every day to remember who you are and who you have to share this life with, and not take it for granted.
Yeah. And to say not take it for granted is so profound. And I love that. And guys, like I said at the beginning, you both showed up every step of the way, and not to say that we didn't have some hiccups along the way, but that's to be expected. But you guys, every step of the way, just said, okay, well, help me to think about it differently too. And I just honor you for that. You guys are an amazing couple. I look forward to staying in touch. I look forward to seeing what God has in store for you. Tamara, you've got a big heart to serve people, not only your family, but friends. And, you've got a lot to offer. And Tim, you are incredibly wise. And I just love the combination of the two of you guys. The sky's the limit of how God can use you to bring hope and light into this world. And we need it now desperately. Mm-hmm. And so guys, I honor you. I'm thankful for you. We continue to pray for you, and we'll look forward to seeing what God has in store.
Yeah.
Add to that?
I just want to add, I just remember, I think it was day 1 or 2, Tamara, you just were fed up. You were ready to quit. That where you're like, we wasted our money, forget it. And I love that when Scott got back on the phone with you guys, you stayed coachable, you stayed resourceful, you stayed committed to the covenant that you made before God and your friends and family. And we honor you guys. You worked hard. You showed up for everything. You were there, and you now can you can now get to basically enjoy that for the rest of your life as you grow together. And I love to see a picture of you all sitting on the porch, rocking in your rocking chairs in about 30 years. You guys are awesome. We love you from the bottom of our hearts. And
Absolutely.
it just brings us such joy to see you going from broken to restored.
Yes. So any last comments from y'all?
I would just say to y'all, I hope y'all stay encouraged and continue doing what you're doing, because there's a real need for it. I hope that God puts people in y'all's path every day so you can continue the ministry you have. And you're good at what you do. And I don't think it's something you learn out of a textbook. I think it's a God-given talent. And I just hope and we'll pray for you that y'all stay encouraged, because I know you deal with a lot, and I know hearing everybody else's issues and problems is probably sometimes overwhelming. And I just pray for y'all that you are able to continue doing what you're doing, and that you'll be supported by people along the way, because what you do is very needed today. It's needed bad.
Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate that.
He is good at it.
There was a lot of days that your encouragement meant a lot. And when we did, group things, conversations, whether it was just us or with other couples and everything, you always brought things to the table that, I think that's another thing too. I think having two people, a husband and a wife, really brings a lot to the equation, because it takes away the intimidation of being talked to by one person and feel like it's one-sided. It's more, a couple trying to help a couple, so it's more balanced and just feels more natural.
Awesome.
Thank you
you so much. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your time today, guys. I know you're busy, and for you to spend it with us means a lot. And I just pray for all those that are out there that are hearing this message. I hope that you will realize there's hope, even when it feels like there isn't hope. Both of us, all four of us, can attest that with God, there is hope, right? And if you feel that you're stuck, we'd love for you to reach out. Just go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call. And I'd love to get on a free call with you to help you to discern what's not working in your marriage as well, and a path from being broken to being restored. And Lord, we're just so thankful, guys, for you being here. We're thankful for your story. Again, we continue to pray, and we look forward to what God has in store. You guys have a great day, okay?
All right.
Thanks for joining in, everybody.
Thank you. God bless.